Giovanni Rivera. I'm 31 years old. I'm the father of 3 beautiful young girls. From the Springfield area. I've been doing acting now for about maybe a year and a half or so, and I'm interested in playing the Eddie role or anything that's available for me. Got a ton of energy, and I'm really enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic is one of many words you can use to describe my guest. He is Dennis King, a Long Island native who makes his home in Merrimack, New Hampshire, and knows firsthand the sacrifice, perseverance, and determination needed to create a feature film. King is the founder of Sorona Studios, as well as an award-winning producer, director, editor, and screenwriter. His debut film, Daddy's Girl, wowed critics last year and was named the best feature drama at the New York International Film Festival, which just happens to be the largest independent film festival in the world. His latest project is titled Deception, the tale of a gangster, his crime syndicate, and frightening terrorist connection, and so much more, including forbidden love. Dennis, welcome back. It's good to have you with us again, and I know that your life has changed quite a bit, and for the good, since all the accolades you received and the successful debut of Daddy's Girl. Tell me a little bit about the past 6 or 8 months for you.
Well, we've been on somewhat of a whirlwind because we've been to at several film festivals. We won Best Drama in the New York International Film Festival, and then when we got to L.A., we won Best Director. And going to film festivals is a great opportunity because you meet people, you know, fellow filmmakers, and also the connections that you really need come up to you. And as you develop more accolades, I guess, or awards, you are basically now seen as a serious candidate and as a filmmaker. And I think that's the best thing that Daddy's Girl did, was it just gave us a chance to kind of move to the next level, to now look for a financed film, which is what Deception is going to be. We're looking for a budget of $5 million. And with that, we're hoping to basically make a basically kind of a sort of an Arab Godfather, if you might, you know, basically in modern times, to talk about what would it be like for a family now that's coming to America, and the process of acculturation, and also the jihad that comes in and transfers people from looking at America as a great place to be to somehow America is the enemy. And we wanted to basically take that film and go to that step to explain what goes on in the hearts and minds of people that could even allow terrorism to happen.
And certainly a topic that's on the forefront of all of our minds, you know, in this day and age. The movie, it focuses on one central character. Let's give the audience a little sneak peek about Muhammad and some of the struggles he's going through.
Well, Muhammad came to the country a little over 20 years ago. And Muhammad is a gangster, but he's a soft gangster. And what he looks by that is that he's running a racketeering, extortion, gambling, and prostitution, all of which
if that's a soft gangster, I want to know what a hard gangster is. He seems to be touching all of it.
Well, yeah, you see, but Muhammad doesn't believe in killing people, you see, because that's bad for business. If you kill the guy that you're extorting money from or who owes you money, how you get your money back? So he doesn't, you know, he doesn't have a problem with beating him up and breaking a few legs or whatever, but he stops short at killing people. So he seems to have some type of morality, you know, in terms of right and wrong, according to his own code. He also embraces America because he's been in the country for 20 years. He's got basically protection from the police force that he's in. The police chief is kind of, you know, looks the other way, and he takes his payoffs. And basically, as long as he stays within this, he feels that he can make a living and provide a service to people who want, you know, gambling or prostitution, and kind of stay under the radar. He's also definitely afraid of any, you know, like driving white Arab type of situations, or that basically people are going to look at him because he's an Arab, and that obviously that means the jihad. So he really wants to have nothing to do with jihad or anybody who is involved in that, because again, it's bad for business. He wants to keep his business going the way it is.
He's all about making the buck and doing it as easy as he can. We've got crime, corruption. Where does the terrorist angle, modern day fear, come in?
Well, the terrorist angle basically comes in as the jihad enters in. His wife, Hanan, embraces the jihad, and you also have some, as you've seen typically, is the younger thugs that come into the picture who are new into this country, particularly Ziad and Samir. They are recent immigrants, and they've been indoctrinated into this, fervor for the jihad. So they're quick to pick this up. Now, his younger brother, Tariq, is the one who's running the prostitution end of the business. So he runs a nightclub where the prostitution is going on. And he feels like he was slighted that his brother didn't give him, because he's a younger brother, he really feels he should have been the head of the family. But because of the tradition in the family, he's not going to get that slot. So he's always been kind of like that competitor, his brothers are. He wanted what he couldn't have. And he embraces the jihad. So then you've got this force of now, you've got Tariq wanting to do the jihad, and he's got some younger members of the family who are very involved in that. And you've got Muhammad and Pasha who represent the other side, the traditionalists, who are trying to just, let's just keep a good gambling thing going, and let's break a few heads once in a while, but everything's pretty good, and we're okay. Into that mix, you've got other family members, who kind of take sides as to whether they're going on the jihad or not. You've got Jamila, who's a sweet daughter, but she falls in love with a Jewish boy, which creates some tension in the storyline. You've also got the other daughter, Layla, who embraces the jihad and actually works with Tariq in order to help facilitate that. One of the issues on the jihad is financing. How do you get money for guns and bombs and et cetera, particularly when you're trying to do it like as going around Muhammad, who's always said to the family, I don't want this going on. So to keep this out of his orbit or sphere, they are getting involved in a sex slave ring, which a lot of people aren't very familiar with. But if you go into the Horn of Africa or in certain areas in the Middle East, this is very current and very popular and kind of scary. You may go to a certain island and all of a sudden a woman is missing or something like that, or falls off a boat, and it's possible they might have been picked up and put into the sex slave.
Let me ask you how a guy from New York who lives in New Hampshire has gotten involved in this type. Where did your interest come from in this lifestyle?
Well,
I'm not saying you're involved in the lifestyle, but to become immersed and interested in making a picture about a character like this who is dealing with these struggles that are going on in faraway parts of the world.
Well, first off, when you're making a movie, particularly a movie with a $5 million budget, and we're looking at investors, one of the things you have to do is create something that has a genre, that's an established format. And gangster movies definitely have a genre that's acceptable, and you're looking for distribution, theatrical and DVD. The other thing is that, I like to, my goal with Serona Studios is to specialize in low-budget films. And what I mean by that is like $15 million and under. And if you look at the statistics, if you have a $100 million film, which is like the big-budget films, 20% of those films will make money. Will actually get beyond the 20, based on the statistics that have been done. The reverse is the opposite. 80% of the low-budget films actually make the return. So if you wanted to put your bang for the buck, you want to go into low-budget films. I also like films that are more character studies and that talk to people. And to me, a low-budget film, you can really do that. You spend more time in the character development, understanding the motivation and the anguish. I mean, the decisions that Muhammad has to make. He's trying to hold on to what he has. He's got, the jihads come in, and I think it's important to see that, not every Arab is into the jihad, and not everybody's evil. That you have to take people one person at a time. And I think the movie tries to explain that. So I think it's a great character study. It's also, there's intrigue. The last 10 minutes are going to leave you breathless because everything comes together. We're filming it in what's called film noir, which if anybody's seen a film like Casablanca or The Maltese Falcon, a lot of smoke, a lot of the gangster type of style, and it's also sort of a whodunit. So we have like an FBI agent that's involved because they're looking for the jihad connection, and then we got a police officer who's looking for the connection of a murdered body that happens to come up near the beach where these guys are holding court.
You're telling us the whole storyline here, and what people don't realize is you haven't even selected your cast yet. You're just in that initial stage right now, and you haven't begun shooting, and this is going to be some time before we can actually go and see the finished product.
Well, we are starting the casting, and it's very important to understand is that you don't select the cast members until you finish the casting, because you never know who you're going to see along the way. And I want to be fair to everybody, and I've explained that to everybody in the call. You never know where you're going to find that next fresh face, and we are looking to combine in this movie, established actors who've got, a cachet and a long history of name recognition, as it were, along with new people who are going to be the next established actors. And I've had a very good fortune to work people where I believe they are going to be the name. They haven't just become the name yet, but
right.
I'm convinced by their talent and the performances, particularly what I saw in Daddy's Girl, that they will be making the next step.
Well, we'll hear maybe some of those names, and you might see some of their faces here, but right now we're going to take a quick break. Don't go away. When we return, filmmaker Dennis King takes us behind the camera eye for a look at just what it takes to make a feature film, and he'll explain what states like New Hampshire and Massachusetts are doing to entice production here in New England. This and more when My Voice returns after this.
I was signed to Rhode Island Modeling Agency 2 years ago, so I did a lot of acting competitions, and I had professional acting classes at the agency for about 10 months, and I did also singing lessons and competition.
To college for theater. I'm an acting major. I just graduated in May. I've been acting since I was 4. I've done mostly stage work, but I have done a few films and a TV show.
The process of casting for a feature film is one step in a very long process that turns words and direction on a page into the moving pictures with sound you and I experience on the big screen. With me is New Hampshire filmmaker Dennis King, the founder of Sorona Studios, currently working on its second feature film, This Deception, a crime thriller for the modern day that pays homage to the great film noir pictures of the 30s and 40s. Now, Dennis, we've been watching some of the casting interviews that you've been conducting as you prepare to choose some actors for this role. Let's start at the very beginning, though. Back to what I said. What goes into, describe the process briefly of taking these words on a page and turning them into the moving pictures with sound.
Well, I guess the first thing to making a movie is the story. If you don't have a good story, you don't have a good movie. And of course, we've all seen movies that, despite a good story, have been made anyway.
Yeah,
you leave the theater saying, well, gee, what were they thinking? Maybe that's why it got me into this in the first place, because I've walked away from a lot of bad pictures that I've seen and said, I could do better. And I think if you feel that way, that's one of the reasons you want to get into the business, because you feel like I could do better than that. You start with a good story. You then take the script out. The thing you want to do is start looking for investors who would be interested in the movie. And once you've basically won awards and gotten some recognition, which I've been lucky enough to do,
you're in the club, so to speak.
Yeah, I guess you could call it that way. I mean, I'm just slowly working way up, but I haven't made any missteps. I've met, particularly in Hollywood, I've met a lot of very good people who are well connected and have heard of me, which is kind of fun. Like you walk over, oh, I know who you are. I've heard about that. So the word is getting out, and that at least adds you a little credibility. And so people will talk to you about your project. And of course, the first thing they're going to want to do is see your script. And if they like the script, you basically need, the next person you need is, if you get the money, all right, assume they say, all right, we're committed to this, is you need a line producer. Now, a line producer basically is a person who's going to prepare your budget. I have somebody in mind. I haven't asked her, but she works for SKG DreamWorks, and if I could get her, like, well, could you take a couple of weeks off and do this project for me? I would love to propose to her to do that. They create the budget, which then helps identify the numbers. Then you've got basically theatrical accountants that are used to working with those numbers, and also the lawyer to make up the paperwork. Then the next big person you need is a director of photography, who I've been very fortunate. I've already got one, so that's a really key thing. Then you're looking for a casting director. Either you can use casting directors that are outside. They help identify people, or you can hire a casting director to say, go find me the people. One of the things is when you have an agreement when you get financing is usually there's a requirement that within a certain number of days you've got to start the shooting. So you really need to be ready to move very quickly.
What's that time frame typically like?
30 to 60 days is typically, because what happens is now the bonds, the money's been forwarded, the bonds are there, and he's looking to get his return on investment. He doesn't want his money to be sitting around. And what you need to do is if you can do what's called pre-sales, that's, like you basically already sold the movie, maybe you've identified a distributor, you can do that. We're looking at this point for theatrical distribution. There's a strange confluence of events that have happened that will really help independent filmmakers, but probably for about the next 18 months. Many of the theaters have now put in the high-definition equipment to show high def. The studios typically take 2 to 3 years to put out from beginning to end, to put out the product. We now have an opportunity as independent filmmakers to get ourselves into the theaters, and theaters that normally would say, "Nah, I don't know if I want to go with somebody with an independent," are now willing to give us theatrical distribution because they have the equipment, they want to use it. They want to, you know, if they have shoot times, they're going to let us go in there. So that helps us tremendously, and it's a wonderful opportunity. So that's why I'm trying to move Deception as quickly as I can, trying to keep a tight schedule to take advantage of that opportunity, because once that, you know, if it hits and we make the returns that we're hoping for, that will be a big plus.
Okay, so we've got that now. Obviously, for me as a film goer, perhaps I'm familiar with the director or maybe even a producer on some of the larger budget pictures, but basically I'm going to see a movie because, as you said, the story is compelling, and then the actors or actresses. And sometimes you don't even give any thought to all of the positions you just described, from the financiers to the casting directors and the director of photography, and those are really, you know, the bare bones of making these pictures.
Oh, well, when you see at the end, there's the credits. There's an awful lot of people.
Yeah, who stays for the credits, though? That's
Right.
you're picking up your stuff, you're walking out. Unfortunately, because there's so many folks who work awful hard in putting these together. Now, in your situation here, when was Deception, in your mind or your vision, ready to go? When did you finish the script and say, I've got a great story here, let's see if we can turn it into a movie?
That was done probably about 2 months ago, and we've been going around. I have several investors now that are looking at it, and we're trying to sweeten up the deal with the theatrical distribution. So if we have that, you know, I'm looking at now at a 4,400 theater distribution, if I can get that deal lined up. And I'm also doing a rewrite on the screenplay. One of our investors basically wanted the typical Hollywood, I want more explosions, you know.
Sure, yeah.
So we're looking to, you know, increase the terror factor and to also add to a little of the intrigue, which is not a bad idea, you know, and I think that you want to respond to what they're looking for in Hollywood. And the other thing, too, is that, you know, I hate to say it, but I do think that, you know, our number is going to be up at some point with all the people, all the terrorists that are gunning for this country. I do anticipate by the time the election comes around, there's going to be some major event that's going to happen. I hate to believe that.
Well, yeah, and none of us want to believe that, and we hope that our government and the agencies are fighting as vigilantly as possible to ensure our safety. In terms of this picture, best case scenario, everything falls into place for you. When might we expect to see this in a theater?
Well, we're doing what's called an on-the-fly editing, which is editing as you make the movie, which is we want to get the theatrical release as quickly as possible, and also within that time window. You know, there's certain times for these type of features that really work well. The holiday season is a very good time, and then you have certainly the summer blockbusters. Those tend to be the bigger movies. So sometime around the Easter break is also another time. I don't know if we'd be able to make it for the Christmas season because we're looking to start filming in the fall. We are basically looking at 2 locations right now. That another thing that probably looking at making a movie is the tax breaks that certain states offer.
What can a filmmaker, what type of advantages can they get here in New England, perhaps Massachusetts, New Hampshire? What's the incentive for you?
Right now, well, Massachusetts has a 25% tax credit, which means on a $5 million project, you know, you get 1.25 right back, which is very, Connecticut's doing a 30%, so it's a little even better there. Unfortunately, New Hampshire, next time I meet Governor Lynch, I'll have to talk to him about this. New Hampshire hasn't done that, but every film commission in every state every state will have a film commission, and they will help you with locations, and they will help kind of, you know, maybe help you connect with different actors and other companies, and et cetera. So that's always an interest for the state to try to advance filmmaking. But what's happened is that so much filmmaking, you know, like for instance in Canada, if you're filming in Toronto, you could get like 35 to 40%. So it's a lot of people are moving out, you know, out production overseas because the other countries are basically competing with us for the same product. I
know there's folks up here who are certainly glad that you're going to be doing your film in New England. Before we go, I want to know, what piece of advice would you offer an aspiring filmmaker who is maybe shaking his or her head wondering, gosh, how am I ever going to get this done?
Well, I didn't realize our time was up, but for a filmmaker, I basically would say if you believe in yourself, go do it. You know, there's a lot of other, get to the film festivals, meet the other filmmakers. We all talk to each other. We all help each other out. It's a small community in a sense that we all, you know, will share ideas and are very liberal in terms of passing on, hey, I got this, I got that, and that's how it gets started. So just follow your dream and make it happen.
My thanks to filmmaker Dennis King for joining us. Shooting for Deception starts this fall. If you would like to track the progress of this film or want more information on how you can become involved with any of King's projects, log on to his website at www.soronastudios.com. And I know Dennis will tell you that investors are always welcome. We'll have our own wrap-up party on My Voice right after we pay a few bills of our own.
As far as prior experience, I was an extra in an independent horror comedy called Pretty Dead Things. Based on that, I actually got a medium-sized role in the same director's next film. This is for Richard Griffin, which was Splatter Disco. I'm actually going to have a lead role. It's kind of an ensemble piece, but I'm one of the male leads in his upcoming Dunwich Horror. I was recently an extra in VAML. It's another independent vampire horror type film. I was an extra for 27 Dresses twice. I can actually drastically change my appearance quite easily, and I had to for them in order for them to use me again. Does that cover everything?
What exactly is the American dream? Well, that answer is different for each one of us. No doubt somewhere in the definition is a degree of happiness and satisfaction in becoming the person we want to be or reaching the goals we've set for ourselves in life. This comfort could be found within your home, feeling proud as a successful spouse or parent. It may come through the hard work you put into your job, advancing your career. Perhaps it's the responsibilities you meet in contributing to the betterment of your community. Or in the case of Dennis King, simply put, the dream might be realized through filmmaking, by telling stories that allow all of us to dream and experience new adventures, to cry, to think, and to laugh away the cares of everyday life, to grow and gain understanding about the world and our shared human condition, and of course, to have fun making and going to the movies. For all of us at MyTV and for My Voice, I'm Mike de Blasi saying thanks for sharing a part of your Sunday with us.